Debora Kayembe is a human rights lawyer, an anti-racist campaigner, and leader of Freedom War Campaign. In August 2019, she became the first female African to have had her portrait hung in the Royal Society of Edinburgh, an honor awarded to those considered to be the brightest minds in Scotland from the Black, ethnic minorities, and refugees community. Despite being one of Scotland's most prolific human rights lawyers, Debora is a victim of racism and racial hatred in Bonnyrigg and Midlothian. Her efforts to stamp out racism in Scotland is an uphill battle, but she is defiant. Outraged by a recent finding that more than 2,000 racist incidents were recorded in Scottish schools, she went on her Facebook page to express her disgust. I'm delighted to say we are now joined by Debora Kayembe. Debora, thank you so much for coming on Jambo Radio. How are you this afternoon?
Thank you for having me. I am fine. Thank you. And thank you very much for your invitation.
I appreciate that. So, how shocked were you to read about the finding by the Scottish Liberal Democrats of the number of racist incidents that are in Scottish schools?
My shock article was in the fact that from the whole Scotland, only few local authority reported their racist incident. Those are incidents that this local authority thought it's worth to report. Beyond those, they surely have some of them that will not be reported for the reason of the reputation of the schools or anything else. Then there are more local authority within Scotland who refuses to send the report, who maybe didn't want to send the report at all. So that was my first shock. And the second shock was from those few who have reported, we have more than 2,000 human beings who've been subject of racism, of hatred in the place of education. That is shocking.
Wow. So in your opinion, does this finding suggest that perhaps we are breeding as a society or communities, we are breeding in the next generation of racist people in the school system? Is that what it suggests to you?
I think there's been some kind of tolerance of this disgraceful behavior in school communities. Okay. And I think the Scottish government has taken this so lightly, they didn't take it seriously. Because remember, I'm petitioning right now in Parliament to make this reporting of racist incident mandatory. So right now, no school has obligation to report racist incident within the classroom. But remember, racism is a hate crime. You break the law when you took on a racist slur against somebody, or you hurt somebody by being racist. You need to be held accountable. 2,200 cases registered. How many of them have been held accountable? How many of them did they went to court to respond to their hatred attitude toward children in the classroom? School is the safest place you can be around the world. It's the place that your respect and dignity are the priority. And if we, within our community, we have our children sending to school to be respected and being taught in dignity, this is a cancer. It has to stop.
It has to stop. And would you blame for the racist attitude, Deborah? I know yourself. You're a victim of racist, racial motivated attacks and abuses. What do you think we should blame? Is it the parents or the school, the education system?
First of all, the person to blame is education started at home. First, they are the parents. If you parent were properly educated, you will never give to your own child something that you did not get. If you were brought up and taught to hate, like Mandela said, you continue to hate, because no child was born hating the world. No child was born that. So the parent taught the children that hatred, and they're going to school where they find a space to use it. And the second person to blame is the education system. You got organization here that the government use to tackle situations in racist incident in the classroom. They keep calling bullying. Bullying racism. No, it's not. I keep saying that. Racism, it's racism. Bullying, it's bullying. They're two different terms, and they have to be handled differently.
Wow. So what do you think can be done? Because I know I can see your passion there on on these issues, because you being a victim itself and being a parent, I'm sure you'll be discussed like every other parents with that, your child going to school and then facing that sort of situation. What do you think can be done?
What can be fundamental taking to I have put a petition through Parliament, change the statute quo, the way the education system is held in Scotland. We are going, if this petition goes and become a law in this country, we will go to change the statute quo. We need to stop this education system that thought that your race is superior than the other one. The teacher can look at your skin before giving you your scores, because that is the situation. And then within the classroom, the children will need to learn that we are born equal, we are all equal, because at the time, right now, that's not the case. There is a race superior than the other one, and the whole system is built on that, on this discrimination. So I brought forward this petition to change, to break the status quo, to break the whole system, and to start with the fundamental right of all men are equal, and we have all the right to the same education, the same respect, and same dignity. That works right now. But the government keep coming back to me to say, oh, the teacher are being taught to teach social justice. I said, fine. Did you train them to understand what it means to be an anti-racist? Because being anti-racist does not mean the skin color. It means every single human being, regardless who they are, regardless of the background, have the same right, the same respect, and shall be treated in the same dignity. That's
yeah. And how you said that the government coming back to you, is that on the policy aspect of it to look at what it can change?
When I introduced the petition to the public petition committee, initially the public petition committee wishes me to withdraw the petition, saying that they have evidence that the government has given instruction to school to report racist incident. I wrote back to them and said, listen, I'm not asking you about reporting racist incidents. The schools are obligated. I have in their work, they're supposed to report these things. I want, first of all, this to become mandatory. You must obligatory report if there is a school incident in your classroom, regardless whether it's a touch of your reputation or whatever it happened. Secondly, the teacher must be trained, because so far no teacher can pretend that during the time that they went on training to become teacher, they have had training for anti-racism. No, they have to get trained. It's important. So when the government came back to the petition committee and they're saying, okay, blah 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 blah, we put together bullying, I went clearly with my team and we told the public committee, listen, there is a difference between bullying and racism. Racism is a hate crime. Bullying, people not always are accountable for bullying. And there is a basic issue here in Scotland. In Scottish education, racist incidents are considered as a behavior issue. It's not a crime. Racism is a crime. From that response, the petition committee wrote back to the government, can you respond to all 7 questions that Ms. Kayembe submitted to you? So my petition is still open in Parliament, and Parliament has to come back and the government has to come with answers to this. But I am glad today the Liberal Democrat brought this at the table. We have more than 2,000. How shocking. How shocking. Because now the government will realize that's the opposition. Look at what they find. Racism is present in the classroom. Racism is destroying children of the BME community, and they're leaving school earlier instead of go forward. Because parent and school community, they don't have tools to deal with it.
Were you also surprised that big cities like big Scottish cities like Glasgow and Edinburgh, who which we can consider as kind of diverse, multicultural, metropolitan cities, are the ones that have the highest incidence of racism?
Yes, but would you surprise that in Washington a mob go to the parliament and then to the US Capitol and drove through inside saying, this is our country, we pay taxes here, this is my country. Oh, this is racism. Racism has no color. Racism has no location. Racism has no land. And when somebody lives in a hatred, it doesn't even look who is hitting, who is aggressing. It's just hate. It's just seeing the hate, nothing else.
Yeah. In that experience, I'm going to just try and ask you, in your experience, do you what are the issues that you think that really stem up racism? Apart from color of skin, is it just people that have, they devise a hatred for people with other color, or what is it?
I think it's not. I think in Scotland it's a different dimension of racism. You
okay.
heard the between the English and the Scot, which is an historical of what's happened in their lands, But I always say, I didn't find racism only in Scotland. I went in America, I found racism. I went in the Congo, my country, I found tribalism, racism. It's about human soul. It's about human mind. If you're not brought up properly, you will see the only way you can get to hate the other is to attack him for what he has different than you. There is no reason why we can justify racism between people, but I think it's a problem of mind and it's a problem of heart. Racism. This is why I always say it's not enough to be against racism. It's fully necessary to be anti-racist, because racism today has different facets. He has different faces, and it's attack in all level of society, and that's why it's important to see the person next to you or facing you as a human being. Don't look at his skin color. Don't look at the color of his skin. Don't look at what he was born when. Just look at human being and with respect and dignity. That is the problem, and that you get that through education. If parent at home fail, school can catch up with it. We need to educate our young age. We need to educate those, because they will change. They will see the change. If somebody doesn't live, if somebody lives in hatred, first of all, he'll hate himself, and then he'll go to hate other people. But if somebody's brought up in love, he will never look at somebody next to him as a danger, because love is within you.
Yeah,
and love.
Yeah, I also kind of want to go back to where you mentioned something there, that when I asked you, who should be taking the blame of of racist attitude, especially in schools. You said parents. How do you kind of manage this? Do you think the parents also need education to understand that they have the responsibility not to allow their kid to be racist in school?
I think educating the adults is a difficult task. It's a very difficult task. In my country, there is a proverb saying, if a tree is already in the side, it's very hard to put it straight.
A bended tree, yeah, yes.
Okay.
So
I think my experience is I have so many adults changing through our interaction with friends. You got parents changing in the older age because their daughter fall in love with a black man, or the son fall in love with a black girl, and that changed everything in their life. So life experience can help adults to change, because I found a friend who was black, and the friend helped me. I always say this: my best mate, my best friend are white. Why? Because at the time I was alone in this world, they were white. They came to me, they gave me clothing, they gave me food, they look after me. They are my best man, my best friend. My children, godparents are all white. So they've learned something from me, and I've learned something from them. Even today, with everything going forward and protesting against racism, they're still my friend, because they know who I am and why I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing for us as humanity, as a nation, as people. So we cannot hurt each other anymore.
Yeah.
That is the important thing to say here.
And do you think Scotland, being a small nation, but do you think it has the opportunity to tackle this before it gets out of hand?
This is how I see it. I see this nation as a new nation, as a young nation. The nation will become independent to build its own place. With my work through the Royal Society of Edinburgh, working with policies, I know where the situation of human rights in Scotland is. We're still at the foundation. I'm privileged to be one of the people who are building this human rights body for Scotland. And when I look at that, I said, this is the opportunity. Make this country the greatest country on earth. Because we are building our nation. We are fighting for our independence. We are fighting for us to create a new nation. Then let's tell the world what we have built. From all the suffering we have had, I cannot ignore what the Scotch people went through. I cannot ignore that. I cannot ignore the years of rape of the girl, of the domination of the English in their lands. I cannot ignore that. But the Scots are fighting to build a nation, but take the pandemic away from that. Put the new country away of the pandemic of hatred, because that will consume you again if you keep it within your system.
The report also says, Scotland is a fairer society, a place to live in. Is that how you feel?
Oh, I would say yes or no, yes and no. Because there is a degree of inequality in Scotland, but you can't blame the Scots to be unequal, because they all themselves, Scots, are subject by another inequality on top of them. So I think there is something to accept and something to say no. I'm saying yes, it's a fair society, because he's working toward that fairness, but he has not reached it. No, he has not reached it. Even look at that, the proportionality of the rich and the poor. It's a very unbalanced country. You got a huge amount of poor, a very little number of rich in Scotland. And those are rich in Scotland are still depending on the Westminster or on the English domination. So there is inequality in Scotland. It's one of the most unequal countries in the world. And again, Scotland is trying to build itself. Scotland is trying to fix it, and it needs all of us, everyone who can bring a little of light of positivity around the country will build something strong. So don't ignore the inequality. Don't ignore the imbalance. Don't ignore the racism. Look at it and fix it. That's all. That's the only way you can build a strong Scotland.
We are middle of a lot of crisis going on in the world. Got the COVID-19 pandemic. You alluded there about racism being also a pandemic, and the crisis in America. What happened in Congress, and then before that, the Black Lives Matters movement, protests in America and globally, and also in Edinburgh. Do you think 2020 and now we're in 2021? Do you think these years present an opportunity for a lot to change in terms of the racial discrimination, systematic racism, and all of that?
We are moving what we call a shift on the change of the way, the demographic way. That's first, the demographic way in the world is going to change, and also the role that which used to be before will change. So is the economy. Everything will change. Nothing is going to be staying the same. But I believe what started in 2021 will continue through 2020. 2020 will continue into 2021, but it's worse. This is what I'm saying. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Why? Because human beings don't listen immediately. They want to see the extreme happen. When they saw the extreme happen, then they wake up and say, oh, they're not good on preventing. No. They're not good on preventing. They want to see things happen. They want to see the extreme happen. Last night, we have 4,000 deaths of COVID in the US, 1,350 in the UK. And yet we have less vaccine distributed. We have some, I heard story in America, people took the vaccine, threw them in the street. They didn't want to use it. So human beings are always there looking for the extreme to happen. When the extreme happen, and then they realize, oh, we need to change right now. And they are very good on making change. Very good. You can just see rapidly everything change. But I think what happened in 2020 in terms of on the all level of our society and in 2021 is to push human beings to realize you are exploiting Earth, you are destroying Earth. You need to start making right decision now, and you need to make your interaction as human being on your racial issue better. So it's matter to send us the signal, and we need to learn that now. We need to understand that now. Otherwise, it's going to be too late.
Most of the time when I have a conversation with someone like yourself, who is a campaigner, you can see the activism in you. I always, tend to think, do you think this conversation that we have, especially on racism, it's been going on for far too long, and where and when will it stop?
Okay, what the racism stop? I don't think so, because but it will get better. This is why we are standing to make it better. The fact that we have the rise of nationalism all around the world has contributed to that. You got America with Donald Trump. You got the UK government with the Conservative and Boris Johnson, who is an extreme nationalist. You have the Scottish Nationalist Party in Scotland. That is not, and you don't get anything good from nationalism. Believe me, I do believe within the SNP, the government, you have people, the decent people who want to see the change, who want to progress. I do believe, but you have also many nationalism which just embrace things that like what happened in America, because it's so great to see one race in the top of another, another race on below of the other. It's great. It's nothing less than great. All right. So saying that racism will stop, no, but I am convinced that we can make policies and law that protect everyone fairly.
Yeah, but you will be aware that the Secretary of State for Scotland, Secretary of State for Justice, yes, Hamza Yousaf, tried introducing the hate crime bill in the Scottish Parliament, and that has been rebuffed by very strong opposition. What do you make of that?
Hate crime bill, yes, I heard about that. And then what my understanding about this hate crime bill was that it was the content of the bill itself. There was few aspects of that bill which was not well prepared by Hamza Yousaf's team. So the opposition picked up from that and rebutted. It's quite controversial, I have to admit. When I look at it, when I read it, and I said, don't we have this already in Scotland?
Well, we do have the equality bill, I think, which again a lot of people, have been saying it's not thorough enough, it's not effective enough.
I understand. That's the issue with people bringing petition in parliament. You bring petition in parliament, then you disappear. You need to be there to fight for what you have written in a paper. There is talking in the mouth. I bring the petition, but there is written statement that you put in the front of the petitioner and parliament to convince the parliament, but this does not exist. That's what we need to cover. When I understand that Hamza Yusuf bill was even presented before my bill. It went even in discussion before, while my bill was already in parliament. They put it aside, they took his. I have the impression there was a lot of political issue there, political shows there. And as you know, it's election year. People want to show that we want to make change. But I think the content of the hate crime was very similar from what exists already in Scotland. They might have considered to push that, to see, maybe putting guidelines how to use what we have already instead of creating another one. This is why I don't think he has failed. I think they have asked him to go back and to...
I think he's going to review it, and he's going to come with a revised version. The committee is going to consider.
But he's in power, so he's not gonna. They're not gonna close his petition straight away.
That's true. I think
I am a simple citizen. I'm bringing a petition in parliament, and
perhaps your team can join with his team, or you can bring the teams together.
It's a very different content on the petition itself. We are talking about an education process. We are looking on the education side, and we are looking on the school community to be the teacher, the parent, to give them tool to stand against racism when it happens in the classroom. He's presenting something that concerns the police force in Scotland, the way we charge people about hatred. And I think he was talking more about because he was a victim of what we call
he's been a victim of racial abuse, and
but that was online. I think he was looking on the online side, because apparently there was some kind of a space that there is no way they could charge someone who attacked online. So I think he was looking on the cyber side of the crime. So we cannot work together, because I want something concrete. I want a change of mind. I want the change on our education. I want a teacher who want to teach children about education and writing is prepare how to teach to the children, not to humiliate children in the class when you teach about slavery. Don't do that. No.
Just as you mentioned the slavery, do you think that the history of slavery, if it's taught in schools, in mainstream schools, in Scotland, that could help improve racial relationship?
Absolutely. The teaching of slavery, the teaching of the history of demographic, how the people managed to get to Scotland and how they've developed, has to be taught in school. But unfortunately, the two petitions that was brought in parliament on that, they disappear. They've been closed already. That's the problem. People bring petition in parliament, they don't stand for it. You need to bring petition and follow it closely until we get to the bottom of it. But there was two very good petitions there, and they have been closed down. And those petitions was encouraging the teaching of Black history or BME community history on the classroom, so that the children can learn, what is their ancestor? How did they end up here? What is our interaction with other people? How did we all end up here? That was very important. And then this I am very sad. I was hurt when I heard that. I said, oh, these two petitions are gone. They're gone. Nobody responded to the question that government sent to them. That's the problem.
So do you think that you identify an important issue there? So the fact that it takes so long to respond to a petition, it might be another aspect that because the system is set up that it delays the response to a petition, and then that means you cannot sit and wait for a petition all the time. You're doing this as part of your work, but there might be another petitioner who are not doing this as part of their work, but they're just doing it for advocacy reason. They don't have the time, the luxury of time to just stay focused on that.
That's true. Because even for my own petition, I understand the petition committee wrote to me that they said they wrote to the Scottish government to respond to my questions, but they cannot guarantee that they'll get the response back until the petition committee decides to invite people to testify in favor of the petition. Now, we have the other issue. The other issue we're having right now is that there is election in May. Parliament will be dissolved. And if Parliament is dissolved, I will need to bring the petition back again into the new Parliament. So, yeah, you see, it might take a year, it might take 2 years, 3 years, but as long as I'm breathing, I am still beyond my petition because I want to see that change happen. I will not give up. I'm sure of it. And they understood the message when I wrote to them. I said, fine, a new Parliament come, I'll bring forward again the petition. Simple as that.
So as a victim, it's yourself that you've experienced, you've been a victim of racism. I think a lot of people have. What's your message to racists?
I want to have a dialogue with racists. I want us to have a door of exchange and about what is for them, particularly about me, I have done that hurt them so much they can come to my house and do the damage they've done to my house. They've done to my car. I need a bridge. I need a helping hand. I need to reach out to them to tell them, listen, I'm not your enemy. I never choose to be born black. You are not born hating people. So what is the reason of your hatred against me? I need a conversation. I need a dialogue with them. This is what I need to find. I need to understand why they're behaving like this. But when you look back on those who are doing these things, there's always an element. He was hurt by somebody and he wants to blame somebody else for his misery. That is the reality of this. There is no justification, to attack people, to hate for no reasons. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense at all.
Debora Kayembe, human rights lawyer and anti-racist campaigner and leader of Freedom War Campaign. Thank you so much for coming on Jabo Radio this afternoon. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.